It is. So I want to share with you that I believe it is very difficult for a Christian man to find a good Christian woman. And it is very difficult for a good Christian woman to find a good Christian man. And I think it's getting harder in the culture. However, when I was reading the Word, I was like, it may have been just as tough back in Bible times. So in Ecclesiastes chapter 7, Solomon says in verse 27, "Look, says the teacher, this is what I have discovered. Adding one thing to another to discover the scheme of things, while I was still searching but not finding, I found one upright man among a" what? So he found one guy, one man who followed God, was upright, loved, he found one out of what? What's the percentage here? One out of 1,000. Then he goes, but not one upright woman among them all. Now, don't lose Ecclesiastes, because we're going to come back here. So put your ribbon there, okay? Put your little Bible ribbon, because we will come back to chapter 7 in a moment. I think it is humorous that Solomon says 1 out of 1,000 men is a man who follows God, is upright, wants to live right, honor the Lord, love people, will make a wonderful husband, 1 out of 1,000. But then he goes, among 1,000 women, I haven't found one. Let me ask you a question. How many wives did Solomon have? He had 700 wives and 300 girlfriends. He had 1,000 wives. And I was like, you know what, Solomon? I have a funny feeling you're being influenced by your own decisions. And Solomon, you picked the wrong women yourself. You were told not to pick women that didn't know the Lord, that came from other countries, and he constantly was picking women for all worldly, false reasons. And then he goes, "Well, I didn't find one good Christian woman out of the midst." And I'm like, you know what? That's not the women's problem, Solomon. That's your problem. That's your problem. And those women led you astray. All those women you married that followed other gods, they led your heart astray when you got older. Now, the Bible does tell us a wife, and Solomon may be the one that put Proverbs together, a wife of noble character. That means she's a believer. She's nobility because she's a child of the king. She's a princess. When you give your heart to Jesus, you have noble character. You have nobility connected to the King of Kings. A wife of noble character, who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. Now, they are out there. They are out there. We have some of those 1 out of 1,000 men, young men in our church that are following Jesus. We got some of them in our church. And we have some of these rubies in our church. My wife was one of those rubies. They're worth more than rubies, plural.